Marketer of the Day, number 476. Simplify your life and grow your business. Get found, optimize your website for maximum results, and repeat your successes with Jared Warner. Hey everyone, we're so glad that you found us and that you tuned in. We're talking right now with Jared Warner, and Jared started his first online business out of his parents' garage in 1998 with his twin brother Jeff, and since that day, he's started many entrepreneurial ventures, but he hasn't always tasted success. He's gone 100% broke 3 times chasing his dreams, but he wouldn't change a thing. And today, he runs the business of his dreams that gives him the freedom to live life on his own terms. And you can check out Jared at 123getfound.com. So, how are things today, Jared? How are things with your business and your life? Talk to me.
Things are awesome, man. Today I get to wake up and do what I love, which is marketing in various aspects, whether it's coaching, done for you, that kind of stuff. But I get to play inside people's businesses and help them grow, and that's what I've always done. I didn't know you could get paid for that, so I studied marketing for, I don't know, probably 25 years before collecting a single dime on it. That's what I did in my free time, and then I learned that you can actually make some money at it, and so that's what I do today.
Awesome. So you're well researched, and you get to jump into people's businesses who maybe have gotten stuck or gone down the wrong path, or maybe making things more difficult than they need to be, and you go in there and set them straight.
Definitely. Yeah, especially regarding the making things more difficult. Going forward, my mission in 2018 and beyond is to help people make growing their business simpler and easier to understand. You're in marketing, so you know that things have gotten crazy complex, and they're not slowing down. It's going further and further away from simple. Everything is going, crazy complex. And so for the average person, they're stuck either doing it themselves and making a mistake, or paying somebody to do it. If this isn't your full-time profession, then it's tough to put a grasp on what you need to do and what's working and what's not, and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I completely agree. And this day and age where things change so fast, as soon as you figure out Facebook ads, you go and log in again, and it's completely changed. And so maybe a lot of people, they maybe bought courses or learned things, but it feels like you buy a course and it might already be out of date. You might learn something. By the time you get a handle on it, then the game has changed again. And then there's that other problem that you laid out there, in that, well, then it might be tempting to hire someone, but then you have to figure out who to hire, and then you figure out, how to pay them the money that you don't have in the business you haven't built yet. And on top of that, then check on their work and make sure that that things are moving in the right direction. So, it sounds like a confusing mess. So is there a specific area within all this where, with your clients, where like you see a lot of people messing up? Like, is there an easy kind of sub problem to solve here?
Yes. So usually when people come to me, the biggest thing is they're just downright confused. And the biggest contributor to the confusion is this: people get caught up in tips, tricks, tactics, and software. That's what they focus on, right? Because that's what we hear about, because that's what, software companies, marketing agencies, all this type of stuff, that's the content that they're putting out, right? They want you to know about these tips, tricks, and tactics. If you're an agency, if you're a software company, they want you to know about the cool software and all of that stuff. And so I get people asking me all the time, should I use ClickFunnels? Should I use Instapage? Should I sign up for Infusionsoft? Should I, do this? Should I do that? Should I run Facebook ads? And I don't answer those questions straight away until we first get them on track. And so here's what I recommend to everybody to build a business. You only need 3 things, and all that other stuff that I mentioned falls under one of these 3 categories. First, you have to get found. And so that's just simply people knowing that you exist in one form or another, whether it's paid or organic or whatever. You have to get results from getting found. And then you have to get smart, which is understanding what took place between steps 1 and 2, getting found and getting results. That's it. There isn't anything else that needs to go into it. So when somebody is asking that stuff, first, let's get smart. Let's know our numbers. Are we? Does anybody know that we exist? Yes. Okay. Of those people, how many of those are turning into leads? of those leads, what is your, average, what's your cost per lead? What's the sales cycle? What are all your numbers? Then you start going into all that stuff. Then you can start to recommend any of the other stuff. But until you know that, you can't recommend anything.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And so like the way that it makes that what you explain there makes sense in my head is step one is sort of like the traffic, like the get found part, so traffic coming to your website. That second step is conversions, whatever sort of conversion, if we're talking about opting in or sales or whatever. And then that third step is just rinse and repeat. Out of all the different things you tried, maybe you focus in, you optimize on what worked, and you repeat. And you're making me think of a couple things. You're making me think of, first of all, when I was a kid, my dad, well, I guess I geeked out on it too, but my dad especially geeked out about the computers he was building, right? He'd geek out about how much RAM was in his computer, or how fast the CPU was, or how cool the graphics card was. And like that's fine if you have a hobby, but then after he died, when I cleaned out his house, he had like 10 different computers, and they were all set up just right with all the fancy software, but not one thing created with it. So it's great as a hobby, but that's not a real business. Not it's not a real a real way of making money. So you
Right.
made me think about that. And the other thing that you made me think about is when I was first getting started, I had a website and I was just kind of playing around with it. Like a lot of people, like just kind of make some web pages, add some articles, and then one day I noticed that I had an opt-in form that was suddenly getting one opt-in a minute. And I was like, whoa, like there's got to be tons of people on this page if I'm getting one opt in a minute. And that turned out that someone had like someone who'd owned a high traffic message board liked my stuff and had linked to it. And so I was getting all this traffic, and so I scrambled at making the opt-in box big before that was a thing, at having a clear call to action, at removing navigation, all kinds of things to optimize the traffic. And I didn't realize it until later that's what I was doing. And then I also hadn't figured out traffic at that point, but then from that point forward, I had gone back to that forum and done different things, like added a signature link and a special offer, and bought banner ads from that forum, because that was a traffic source, and I just kind of rinsed and repeat that. So you're making me think of having all kinds of light bulb moments here with your found results and smart concept here.
Awesome. Yeah, and then I take it one step further, because when we talk about getting found today, if you're a new marketer, let's say you're a new marketer, you're into the marketing world in the last 3 years, what's the one traffic recommendation that new marketer is going to tell you? It's going to be Facebook ads, right? And
Sure.
so I wrote an article that, or it was just a long post called "If the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail." Every new marketer, the only tool that a new marketer has is a Facebook ad, and so they try to solve every business problem with Facebook ads, but they're missing the whole point of it. So what I do with entrepreneurs, and I work a lot with coaches and consultants and subject matter expert entrepreneurs, and I don't make that recommendation until I find out what their strengths are. So what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? So like some people can kill it on Facebook Live. Some people are scared to death of Facebook Live, right? So if that person who's scared to death of Facebook Live is having a conversation with somebody who, let's say they're making 100 grand a month from Facebook Live and that's their traffic source, they're going to think, I really need to do Facebook Live. And I'm going to tell them, no, you don't. That person needs to do Facebook Live because they're crushing it. They're really good at it. But you that's scared to death, could you learn that? Yes. But let's find the path of least resistance. Let's build on that first so you can actually build a business. And then maybe we can circle back to that and add that as a traffic source. So I take them through a process and we figure out what are their strengths. So can you write? Do you suck at writing? Can you grab a mic and rock it? Does that scare you? Like everybody's got something that they can do to generate content and awareness that plays to their strengths. And so that's the place to start when you're building a business. Don't do what other people are doing. This copy and paste marketing stuff, it kills me. I'm
Yeah.
on a mission to crush that next year.
So one size does not fit all. So if I'm understanding you right, so the lesson is to take that inventory of your strengths and use those strengths for traffic, as opposed to what a lot of people do, which is maybe to look at their weaknesses and try to beef up their weaknesses, which is a noble pursuit, but maybe takes a lot longer than just going for your strengths.
Absolutely. And we're taught in school that we should be, balanced, right? You should be good at science and math and history and English and all this other stuff, PE and like all these subjects, right? We should be balanced, and our goal is to get A's across the board. Okay, well, if you got a couple of B's, that's fine, but like A's is where we want to start across the board. Well, that will destroy you in business. What you need to do is focus on your strengths, give everything you got to those, and hire to your weaknesses, and that's how you build a business. Don't try to bring up your F grades and bring those to A's. You're going to go out of business probably while you're trying to do that, because you're not going to generate cash flow.
So when you talk to these clients and you pull out from them what those strengths are, does anyone try to tell you they don't have any strengths, or do they try to not answer, or does it take some work sometimes to get that answer out of them?
Yeah, sometimes it does, and then usually we'll just go on an exercise like, have you landed clients ever? Okay, well, let's talk about that. Well, and they'll go, well, yeah, I'm in business. I have. Okay, well, let's talk about how you landed those clients, and then we can start to go through things. And for some people, it's they've landed clients because they build good relationships, and it's like, okay, well, that's good. That's an asset. That's a skill set. Maybe we could start a meetup. Maybe we could do all kinds of things. If you're landing clients in person, then we can build that, and then we can, funnel that into maybe webinars or into some other things where you can leverage your time a little bit better. But everybody's got something. If you're in business and you've landed clients, there's a reason you did that. And I'm pretty sure it's not going to be just because you ran one Facebook ad and that was it. There's got to be more to it.
Yeah, so you did something right, maybe on accident, or maybe as an experiment, or maybe temporarily. So it's time to go back and do more of that. And so, is there usually like a number one most common answer, or usually like three or four types of answers, or is it just all over the place?
It's pretty much all over the place. But the one thing is, most people think that they have to start Facebook ads right now. And first, I'll ask them, who do you help and how do you help them? If you can't answer that, we couldn't even begin doing anything. You better get darn clear on that. Otherwise, there's no way your potential client is going to know. If you don't know, they don't know. You can't identify them. There's no way they can identify you as the person who can solve their problem. So that's kind of where we start, and then we walk them through the journey.
Okay, well, great. So you look at what they've done in the past, or what they're good at, so that way they're not doing Facebook Live when it's not a right fit, or they're doing Facebook ads not a right fit, stuff like that. And then focus on who do you help and how do you help them. That way they're not just making some generic type of ad, or their landing page or their marketing isn't product based and things like that. And so did you have these problems early on, or like how did you come to these kinds of realizations? Was it just from all of this 25 years of reading and not taking action, or was it a rough start at first once you did take action?
Oh man, I'm all about action. I've taken a lot of action. So as you read or led with in the bio, my first online business was in '98, and we hit the ground running. We were very successful in that business. I went on to do a couple other things that are successful, and I don't even usually like to talk about those. I like to talk about the failures because I learned so much more from those. But just to not bore you, I had several successes right out of the gate, and then I had my first big failure, and that's where I learned the most. And I had three massive failures, and I learned majority of what I know today from those failures.
Okay, so I mean, now I got to hear this. Like, what was a big failure?
Yeah, okay, so I had tasted nothing but pure success up to this point, right? Literally everything I did in business was a hit, and I made money, to the point where the business with my brother, every single inventory purchase we made, we sold for 100% markup or more. I mean, that was like unheard of. Usually people are going to make some wrong decisions. We did not make a single wrong decision in that business, and I don't know why, but we just didn't, and everything worked. And so I went into this next venture thinking everything I do just works, right? Because it always had. So what I did was, I had just moved to San Diego. I had, probably, I don't know, 35 grand in the bank. I had a brand new BMW. I was in great shape. I had a place on the beach. I had, like, everything in my life was just rocking. And I was approached by a guy who just knew me to be somebody who was a winner and successful, and he had 300 websites that he was not monetizing. Like literally, he collected $0 on 300 websites. And so he said, "Can we go over some of these concepts and let's see what you think you can help me make money on?" I went, "Sure." So we had a call, and there was like about 10 of them that were really good ideas, but he looked at them as failures because he didn't make money right away. So he like ditched it and went to another one, hence the 300 websites. So he would just like make another one and then it wasn't profitable. And so he'd make another one and it wasn't profitable, but he never lost them. So he kept renewing 300 websites. So I decided, sure, I can help you. And what we're going to do is we're going to generate a ton of traffic to these sites. We're going to, because I was successful at doing that in the past, and we're going to sell advertising, and we're going to make a ton of money, and then I'm gonna just relax most of the time on the beach and work on my tan, and I'm gonna kind of be semi-retired, and that was honestly my plan. And it was summer of 2008 when we started that, and I don't know if you know what went on in 2008. I'm sure you experienced some of that. The bottom was falling out of the whole world, so nobody was buying advertising on a website they'd never heard of. They weren't buying advertising on websites they had heard of, let alone ones that, hadn't existed. Despite traffic numbers, they didn't care. And so I lost everything. I literally lost down to $3. I lost my car. I had to they call it a voluntary surrender or something. Meaning I drove to the dealership and I handed my keys and said I couldn't make the payments anymore. And I was down to $3, and I got a job. So that was the biggest failure. And lesson learned from that was I went into it probably a little bit arrogant. I didn't do enough research. I didn't feel I had to. I thought I could wing it. And I had never sold advertising space on a website. I always generated money in other ways. And so I was pretty naive to all of it, all the ins and outs of it. And the fact that he had no credibility or social proof or anything. So why was anybody going to spend money there, especially when we had so much uncertainty and stuff? So that was a really hard lesson and an expensive one.
Yeah, geez. I mean, that's quite a bunch of crazy heavy stuff for you to go through. So, I mean, looking back on that now, how do you know when, like you said, that the problem with that is you hadn't done enough research, but how do you know if the problem is not enough research or if I'm just uncertain? Like, do you think that a lot of people have a problem of maybe they're too hesitant to jump in and take some action? Or, do you think that the research problem is that like a common problem, or do people have kind of the opposite issue sometimes?
I think people probably have the opposite issue, whether meaning like they won't take action whether they researched it or not. Most people are just so scared to fail that they don't even take a shot. Like that's never been my problem. I'm always willing to take a shot. Like, let's go. I'm willing to, I'll buy the domain name, I'll build the thing, and I'll take a run at it like right now. If I had an idea that I thought was good, I would, put it in action right after this call, and I could be launched tomorrow. So that issue is not one that I have, but I do see a lot of people that are scared to pull the trigger. They're waiting for everything to be perfect, and I just don't think that exists. I think you learn more from it. The one thing I would recommend for people is A, do take action, but B, take calculated risks on your time and your money, and don't necessarily put all your eggs in one basket and go all in with everything you have. And some people will disagree with that, but I'll tell you, if you literally risk everything, you can lose everything, and I have. I'm fortunate that I did because I learned a lot, but I don't recommend that style of learning for everybody.
Okay, and I mean, what happened exactly on the way down as things were crashing and burning? You said that you had these 10 websites, and it was like that economic downturn, so people weren't buying ads. But on your end, was it just a matter of like too much time commitment and not money coming in from anything else, or did you put too much money into traffic, or what happened specifically to make you go broke that time?
Yeah, I had no other revenue source but that. So if that wasn't working, no, there was no other money coming in. So that was my main issue, and we weren't really spending any money on traffic. We were actually generating a ton of organic traffic. We had really good SEO on a local level, and it was driving, tons of traffic to it. And we could, prove that traffic and show people that like this website ranks number 1 through 5 on like all these terms and all the stuff. And so, and these visitors are closely related to your topic and all that. So that part was done right. It was just the uncertainty of the whole thing. And on my part, I didn't have any other source of income.
Okay, fair enough. So there's something to be said about having those multiple streams of income, even if our maybe our focus is mainly in one area. Like there's still nothing wrong with having a little bit of money coming in from other sources. And I know that we said in your bio that you wouldn't change a thing, but were there ways for you to get out of it on the way down? Like were there points in time where like you kind of had some doubt? Like it can't have been overnight, right? It can't have been can't have jumped to instantly to the point of no return. There must have been like some warning signs as things got worse and worse, right?
Oh, there was so many. I mean, there was so many, and it was over probably like a 6 month period. And I did have multiple chances to take other jobs. I was offered lots of jobs, and I didn't take them. I don't like jobs. I'm a entrepreneur, to my core. So I didn't accept any job, and I one of my best traits is that I'm optimistic. One of my worst traits is that I'm optimistic. And so every day I woke up optimistic, thinking that this is the day that we turn the tide, and I'm gonna, give it what I got, and I think this is gonna, start to turn around. And it just didn't. And I never jumped ship on it. I never bailed on it until it was done.
So, what sort of lessons did you take from that? Was it to not be like as emotionally attached to projects, or was it that arrogance issue that you mentioned, or like what were your big lessons from this sort of failure?
It's really all of it. One, if I was going to take a risk on something like that again, it would just be a calculated risk on time and money. So I would only give it, maybe one day of the week or something. I would focus on it, and then I'd keep focusing on the rest of the stuff that was actually bringing in income. And if I don't have any income coming in, then you can't take a project like that, right? Where there's it's all risk and all return. If it hits, like it was a 50-50 split, and it was pure profit. Like we had hosting, and he was the tech guy behind the scenes. So and I was the sales. So like there was no really infrastructure cost or anything. It was going to be pure profit. So the upside was huge. I like those deals, but you have to have income coming in order to support a risk like that.
Right. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And yeah, I like your calculated risk idea. And especially because, it's really common for, entrepreneurs to say, oh, burn the ships, or, quit your job, or like, do all these things that you can't undo. So that way you have no choice but to go forward. But as you're explaining that, it makes a lot more sense to gradually phase something in. If you think that a project has a lot of potential, then like you said, put just one day of the week on it and focus on and still keep around the things that are still making you money, if that's a job, if that's other projects, if that's whatever it is. But then as that new project picks up steam, then maybe that can get more and more of your time. But don't just drop things that are already rocking and rolling for some potential, because the potential might not pay off. Still go for it, but you can gradually phase it in.
Absolutely. Yep. Well said.
Well, great. And then, so, I mean, we talked about a lot of downer stuff, but what have you been up to on your way back up this last time?
Yeah, so I built a solid foundation of done for you marketing clients, and that's kind of self sustaining and running itself, which is allowing me to venture into some other stuff, which is more on the consulting and coaching side of the business, which has been super exciting because there's a lot of people that I've come across in this journey in building the business that they do want to do it themselves, but they want they want to know that they're doing it correctly. In other words, like they don't want to hire an agency and pay them every single month. And if they stop paying them, then the leads stop coming in and the business stops growing. There's a lot of people that just want somebody to show them how to do it. And so that's been a really fun part of the business to build.
Yeah, and I like doing that with my own business as well. To like, if I am doing something that is new for me, or if I just don't like the way that I've been doing my webinars or my websites or something like that, then I like to do that. I'll go and hire a coach and have them maybe do a little bit for me, but for the most part, show me what to do, because the alternatives for me are either try to figure it out myself. Well, that only gets you so far. Like doing it the way I've been doing it up till now will still just give me the same results I've been having. I don't want that. And then I don't necessarily want to hire a huge team or just hand a bunch of stuff off and be gambling on what comes back. And I like that middle ground of having that coach to guide me and show me and course correct things the way that I want to go. And that ties in really nicely with your frustration and your mission going forward on getting people to not look at Facebook ads as the end all solution, because there's there's the solution that's right for them, but they might not discover it on their own. They might need that outside help like you to sort of show them the way. Is that right, or on the right track?
That's right. Yeah, and I'll give you an example of one person where Facebook ads could work for them, but what has been working for them is speaking, whether it's being a guest on podcasts or speaking at live events. Like that's where he's good, is speaking, and we're going to get him to start his own podcast, but that's where he's really good and able to communicate his message. So I'm not going to tell him like you should, do all these other things. Like let's get more results from the efforts that you're currently having. Then we'll build up some cash flow because he's already doing those activities. Let's generate some cash flow on that, and then we'll build the other parts of the business. I don't see a reason why to pivot. Like this is what you're good at. Let's nail that, and let's move on to the other phases later.
Yeah, wherever you're at right now, you probably spent a couple of years just figuring out what you've got going on already through trial and error. I mean, it would be like if that person with the 300 websites came to you, and instead of you narrowing down the top 10, if you had said, oh, let's just throw these all out and let's start something new, it'd be like, well, I already did all the work. Isn't there a way to just kind of tweak what I already have in progress? So what would you say, or who would you say is the ideal client for you? If someone is listening to our discussion and they say, what, Jared sounds great, I want to check him out and hire him for some done for you marketing stuff. How do I know if I'm a right fit for Jared?
Yeah, I like to work with coaches, consultants, or I like to say subject matter, or expert entrepreneurs that are like, nail it on one topic. Those are the people I like to work with. And that could be in a done for you or a done with you. So they could be sitting there doing things themselves, and they could be confused, frustrated, not sure exactly what to take, and they would be a good fit for me as well if they want to continue doing things themselves, but have a little bit of guidance and point them in the right direction.
So is it a requirement that someone have money already coming in, or that they have a business or have a list, or are there any sort of prerequisites?
Not really. I am taking on somebody this month that doesn't have a business yet, but the concept is good. I think they're determined enough that they're going to be able to make it work. And one question I like to ask is, if somebody offered you $100,000 a year salary, you got to work 50 hours a week in an office, 9 to 5, and you're never going to get fired. Would you take it? Somebody asked me that. Absolutely not. If they doubled it, tripled it, 10x'd it, I don't care. I'm not taking a job. I don't care what the number is. And I think if you answer no to all of that, you're probably a good fit because you've got what it takes to make it through. And if you answer yes, at even like 50 grand, you're probably not a good fit. You should take the job.
So you want someone who values freedom and risk over the stability.
Absolutely. I like people who are interested in building their dream life. And I don't believe that anybody's dream life includes being an employee at in an office with a cubicle.
Right, fair enough. We're on the same page there. And it sounds like as far as the scope of marketing services you provide, it sounds like nothing's off limits, right? Because you help people with their podcasts or get them on speaking gigs. It sounds like you kind of provide everything.
Yeah, it's extremely broad in terms of how we generate that first phase of getting found, and then we put in the other elements in place after that. So yeah, um, I like to call it anti-shiny object syndrome. We don't chase shiny objects. We play to your strengths. We help you find those strengths and then point you in the right direction. Then we help you get results from that and get smart so that you can stop doing what isn't working, do more of what is, and build a real business.
Yeah, I mean, why go out there and find a new bright shiny object if you already have a dull object in front of you? You can just take a rag and polish it off, and you have a shiny object that had all along, right?
And I think honestly, most people have that, and they just don't know it, and they're getting distracted. And next year and beyond is going to be even more distracting. I think it's going to be by the end 1 year from today. If we were having this conversation, we'd be having a different conversation because it's going to get even noisier.
Well, all the more reason for them to have someone like you to quiet down the noise. And where can they reach out to you, and where can they hire you for coaching, or at the very least, kind of tell them about their situation to you?
Yeah, I'm pretty impersonal. People are personable. People can connect with me personally on Facebook, LinkedIn, or check out the website if you want to. 123 Get Found, as you had mentioned at the top, but Facebook.com/Jared PPC. Just connect with me personally and say they saw you on heard me on your show, and just say what's up.
Fantastic. So once again, just to make sure that everyone has those URLs, the website is 123getfound.com. And then to find Jared on Facebook, that's facebook.com, or I guess Facebook, they do fb.com, right? They were fancy enough to get that super short domain name. So
Oh, right. Yeah.
fb.com/Jared PPC, and message him and talk to him and let him know that you heard of him on the Marketer of the Day podcast with Robert Plank, and just let him know about your situation. Even if you're not really sure where things are going to go, like I think that we can all relate to not even sometimes even knowing what we're working on, what our problems are, what our goals are, but then sometimes you go and just reach out to some random person, and by putting that in writing, it helps you get clear on your goals. Just that alone gets you motivated going forward. And because you mentioned your goals to this great guy Jared, he has all this expertise. He's been through all these different trials and tribulations throughout his business career. He knows what the solution is for you, so there's no downside. There's everything to gain by reaching out and talking to him and seeing what comes from that. So we'll see you over there at 123getfound.com and fb.com/Jared PPC. And thanks so much, Jared, for stopping by and setting us straight about this shiny object syndrome, about getting focus and doing what we need to do. I appreciate your advice. I appreciate you.
And thank you so much. And one other thing, I do offer a free call at grow.123getfound.com, and we can set them straight. That formula that we kind of went through, I can apply that to their business. We talked about a lot of different things, so I can help them hone that in. It usually takes about 30 minutes. If it goes longer, I'm not a time Nazi. I don't care. That's fine. But usually 30 minutes or less, and we can send them on the right path.
Fantastic. Well, even better. So once again, that is grow.123getfound.com. Hop on that free 30-minute call, and wow, that's really great. So that way, instead of just them putting a send or two, you can really have a conversation. I mean, when's the last time when you actually got to have a conversation with a human being about your business? I mean, try telling your friends about your online business. They don't care. Try telling your spouse or some friends about it. They don't care. But Jared this is what he does for a living. This is what he enjoys and lives for. So he is eager and super willing to hear about all the ins and outs, nooks and crannies, the problems you've had with your business, because guess what? He's probably gone through them, or he's seen this before, and he most likely has an easy solution for you. And instead of you thinking in circles or struggling with the same old things, hop on this call with Jared to get some new ways of thinking, get some new solutions. That is grow.123getfound.com, and great stuff. So thanks again, Jared.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me on.
Go right now to marketeroftheday.com/iTunes to subscribe to the show, listen to other episodes, and rate and